So we'll start off with our movie review of this movie that me and Robert both watched together. One of the rare occasions we actually do watch movies together. But it was called Gosnell. I forget what the tagline was, but it's a biographical movie about a man named Kermit Gosnell who was convicted of I forget how many counts of murder, but murder. But what makes it so unique was because he was an abortion doctor, and for sure one of the accounts was murder of a baby that he was gonna abort, but the kind of hiccup was that it was birthed live, and then he killed the baby. He aborted the baby. And for those of you unaware, most state laws stipulate that you can only the latest you can get an abortion is by the 24th week.
Right.
24th week. But Kermit
Which is 5 months it's 5 months, by the way.
Yeah, that's 5 months. That's more than half the gestational cycle of a human pregnancy. And so Kermit Gosnell was charged and convicted of murder of a baby. And I have to tell you, this is a very powerful movie. I remember, after watching it, after the credits started, after the credits started to roll, the theater was dead silent. I mean, pardon the choice of words, but it was dead silent, and no one was talking. No one even moved for I think the first 20 seconds.
Yeah, it was the best way I could put it was just kind of a stunned silence, because the scary thing is that this was something that really happened. That
Right.
This was a person that it wasn't an exaggerated tale that was created. It was no, this person existed and did these horrific things.
Right.
Yet, here's the what makes this so crazy is that had he been any other type of doctor in any other field, and he turned out to be a serial killer, would have been a worldwide or at least nationwide news story.
Yeah, it'd be front page. But front page, top of the hour kind of, top of the hour on CNN kind of news story.
And but what makes this story so crazy and unique was that Kermit Gosnell, I mean, other than it was just a deplorable medical conditions in his office that were legal violations that he was,
health codes and things like that. There are cats roaming around. There were medical waste bags just out in the open. And and some of the accounts of people just patients urinating in the hallway.
Right.
Just really kind of disgusting conditions. And one of the things I appreciated about this movie is how they did not try to sensationalize this already horrific situation.
It didn't need it.
It didn't need it. Yeah, not one bit. And I mean, I think to accentuate that point, at the end of the movie, they showed actual police photos, and I think there was some footage too, footage of the clinic, and it was exactly as how they depicted in the movie. Like from the photograph, they depicted it um, exactly as like the actual like the police had found it.
Yep.
And I
Well,
think that
so I'm saying, the story of Kermit Gosnell is what makes it such a crazy story is that he's an abortion doctor, yet he's also using that in the guy, and he's a serial killer. His because of his malpractice, he killed a woman. But then it wasn't just one baby. It was a bunch of babies that he was birthing live, and then because they were so past the point of that that cutoff point, that these women were giving birth, and then he was snipping the spinal cord of these babies, and it wasn't it wasn't a legal abortion. Uh, and what in the view of people who support abortion, or and Gosnell was a kind of a really creepy guy to begin with. In his mind, he wasn't doing anything wrong. He was like, yeah, I'm here to, these women didn't want their babies and they wanted them to die, and I'm just doing my job. That's kind of how I think he viewed it. And
right, like like in his mind, he was actually helping these women,
in a
because
fucked
like
up
they
way,
are
he thought
from
he was
like
doing the right thing.
yeah, like and because they are from like a lower socioeconomic rung of the ladder, you know I think during the kind of deposition with his lawyers or whatever, he was saying like, oh, I see these women like like my own daughters, and like, how would I want my daughter to be treated, or would I want my daughter to get the same kind of help, and it was just like, and it was it was really disturbing. I mean, good, props to the actor, playing Dr. Godsnow, but yeah, like it was deeply disturbing.
Yeah, and what was one of the main actors in the movie? Everyone kind of knows Dean Cain of fame from being Superman back in the
Mm-hmm.
'90s.
Mm-hmm.
He when they were filming this, when they had that scene where they initially discover the clinic, because they were doing it was a drug raid initially.
Right.
And they found that it was originate that Gosnell was the one that was writing all these drug prescriptions and kind of doing all that stuff. But when they went into the clinic, there's like, there was these baby feet that they discovered that he was keeping in jars, like as serial killer trophies. And
Right.
when Dean Cain was talking about the movie, he was saying that that it's like, oh, come on, guys, this seems a little like over the top. Like, this didn't really happen, right? He's like,
Right.
You want to actually see the footage? And he was surprised, like, holy crap, it's exactly as they put it in the movie. There wasn't anything sensationalized. This is what actually was
Yeah,
discovered.
that's like the condition that you see on screen was exactly the same as the condition as the police found it, and it's very well documented through like their photos, and and that's what the filmmakers use to dress the set, like to make it as accurate as possible.
Right. I mean, and if if this was if Gosnell was a character in the movie in the show Dexter would have killed this guy. It's like, look at all these trophies that this guy is keeping. He's killing like all these little kids.
Right, and yeah, it's and like in the movie, like he was like one of the officers was describing like the bodies of like the aborted fetuses is like, man, these look like babies. Like these look like they could have, you know, you could slap a diaper on them and put a pacifier in their mouth, and they would have been, they would have been considered as babies.
Right. And
I
the
think
other
just like that, just going again to the idea that this guy was, performing like these illegal abortions, like illegal in the terms of like the terms set up by like state law, like where you couldn't, like, where you can't abort and pass the 24 week mark.
right, yeah, and the other thing that is kind of also not giving into sensationalizing the story is you don't see anything. I mean, it's disturbing, yes, but they don't show anything graphic. They're not showing.
That's great. Yeah.
There is because during the court proceedings, one of Gosnell's former nurses, nurses.
Right, because the nurses weren't like legit nurses. They were just like random women, or they were like or they were girls that were in nursing school, like and trying to get experience as nurses. And
right.
He was like training. He was training them like how to like administer anesthetic and drugs like that, even though they're not legally allowed to do such things.
Right.
And also even to perform some of the abortions themselves, again illegally, because they don't have medical degrees. They don't they don't have medical licenses, and so
right. But she ends up taking a picture of this baby after Gosnell had killed it. Or killed him, or I don't know. They didn't really say if it was a he or a her.
No, it was baby boy A.
Oh, okay, it was that part I didn't remember, but yeah, it was that young baby boy that he killed. She took a picture of that and she saved it and shared that with the police and in the court proceedings,
and the prosecutors.
And at the end, after the end of the credits, because they were showing all the police footage that they had taken of Gosnell and all his clinic and whatnot. They did say, like, if you do want to see the picture of this baby that was murdered, they gave a link to where you could go. And to be honest, like I just couldn't bring myself to see that, like, because it's to me, the whole Gosnell was a very I think is a very evil guy, but then I already have the belief that I think abortion is wrong, and so I don't need to see what they're doing with that. And once you see that, that's not a bell you can unring. I couldn't bring myself to see it.
Yeah. Similarly, I have this. I had this strange compulsion to see it, but I don't want to see it at the same time.
Right.
Because again, it's that's something that you can't unsee. That's an image that you can't unsee from your mind, and it was also a little too pointed for me personally, because my cousin just gave birth to a baby girl, and I went to the hospital and I held that baby, and just like having that, and then like holding that baby, and then like also having that image in my mind. I don't think I could deal. Like it might break me. It might break me. Mentally, like spiritually. I just don't think I can deal with that like right now. I mean, maybe down the line, maybe once I get some distance from like the birth of my niece, I might be able to muster enough courage to view the image. But I mean, for me right now, I just can't do it.
I think for people who may be on the fence concerning abortion or whatever, that might be something that they need to see. Because what's really
And
going, because when they actually show what is being done, what an abortion actually does, that's pretty horrific too.
well, yeah, because when the nurse that comes forward with the picture and like she's on the stand and she was describing it, I thought the filmmakers, they did this really powerful thing to this to kind of illustrate it without necessarily showing it. Um, because they were gonna abort this baby, but it ended up being born alive. And then you kind of see like this kind of fuzzy, out of focus view up, and then you see Gosnell, and then and then they shift to a view of him grabbing the scissors, and then again, and it's like another like kind of blurry, out of focus view, and then all of a sudden you hear a snip, and then like it goes black.
Yeah, that scene, like that was
Right, and then and you could hear like the baby like cooing as well right before, and then like I mean, in honesty, during when I saw that, like I gasped like audibly, like
yeah.
Robert like even heard me. I was like, because it was like that. It was so powerful. I think because they're afraid that if people saw the reality of abortion, then everyone would be pro-life.
Well, that's also why they're because now they have a lot more of the 3D imaging and stuff, so that we
Oh
can
yeah, the
get
like
better
the
pictures of.
the sonograms. Like they have like the 3D sonograms where you can actually see a face. You can actually see the fingers. And then it's like you see that, and like I was like, I dare you to not call that a baby.
And that's the thing is there's a lot of people that are trying to get rid of those things because it's like because if you can see it as being an actual person, there's a strong majority of people that's like, no, I can't do that to this kid.
Yeah, I mean, and for those of you who don't know, Steven Crowder, he actually did a Change My Mind segment. It's for those of you not unaware. He takes a unpopular position and he asks people to sit down with him and try to change his mind on it. And one of it was about abortion. And he talked to like several women, and he showed them like the life cycle chart, like where like each the developmental chart for a baby, and they showed him like where like like 24 weeks is, and like and a lot of these women, like they had no idea that the baby was that developed at 24 weeks, where like it looks like a baby, well, partly because it is a baby. But they had no idea. People use like euphemism like, oh, it's only a cluster of cells, and or viability, and to distract or to mislead the actual facts of pregnancy and of abortions. And those women like who were going to try to change Steven Crowder's mind. He ended up changing their minds.
Yeah, it just it's rough, man.
Yeah, it is. This is a rough subject, and like it like dealing talking about it is like it's it's a toll on the soul for sure.
Yeah.
Because again, like I just held like my newborn niece, in my arms, and and you know, and to imagine that, I said this, on the way home. Also, like, imagine. I'm trying to imagine if there's like a mirror universe version of myself, with goatee and everything, where I convinced my cousin to abort her baby.
Yeah.
That's a Star Trek reference, for those of you unaware. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I was just, I was like, could there possibly be a universe where I talked my cousin into getting an abortion? I pray to God that there isn't. But yeah, and I've held my fair share of babies. I've held my fair share of nieces and nephews, and I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine me advocating for their deaths.
Yeah. It's yeah. I have nothing else to say on the subject.
Yeah. I mean, me too. All I'll say is go watch this movie. I know it's a really heavy topic. It's
you're not gonna feel like pumping your fist at the end of the movie.
right.
It's rough.
It's rough. It's rough, but it'll make you start thinking. It'll make you start thinking. It'll make you start asking questions. And it ultimately leads you to more information because once you start questioning things, then you'll want to know some of the answers.